Hey everybody, tonight we're going to do a quick update on my waterfall tank, and mainly we're going to focus on the leak in my waterfall tank, but we can cover what's going on up here on the front side before we get to the leak. Not a whole lot to talk about since my last update. The one thing I have noticed since I've been standing here this evening is that my dead nettles there in the planter you can see right here are all wilted and droopy, so I need to get up there and water that planter. Otherwise, all of my plants look like they're doing pretty well. The little bit of water sprite you can see growing up right here, it looks like it might be getting a little too much light since it's growing emergent there, but we'll have to wait and see. You can see I've got some pothos plant up here that's doing really well. My arrowhead plant up there is doing really well. I've got some more pothos plant that I put down here, which is actually trailing all the way down into the tank itself. That is doing well. All of my little plants I've got here in my basin are doing well. This is the last little bit of temple plant I have anywhere in any of my tanks alive at the moment. So if that one doesn't make it, then I'm finally all out of that temple plant I bought years and years ago. My creeping jenny and dead nettle down here are doing well. Of course, I don't have to water these. They get self-watered by being within the waterfall tank. And then that little bit of whatever that plant's called that I'm not sure, but it does well in the shade. It's this little bit of green stuff right here. That's doing pretty well. I keep it covered most of the time. I take the cover off for the sake of doing a video, but I usually keep that over top of it, and that actually lets enough light through that it gets plenty, but still keeps it shaded enough that it's still growing and doing well. As far as the tank goes, let me get the light turned on here. I didn't even realize we don't have the actual light turned on, and the light is not coming on, so not sure what's going on there, but it looks like we've got a burned out. Oh, now it's on. Okay. Not sure what was going on with that switch there, but we had a little trouble getting the light turned on. So you'll notice how low the water level is, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about. I was noticing that the leak in my waterfall seems to have slowed down, and it's gotten slower and slower over the last few days, and it's not really leaking much at all anymore. And I'm beginning to wonder if it's not a result of the water level being so much lower than I normally keep it. And I'll explain exactly what I mean when we come around back here. All of my leaking was coming from up here somewhere, and that piece of wood was all wet and drippy. It looked like it was just raining from that piece of wood, and I assumed that the leak was coming from up in this corner somewhere, and it was leaking and dripping down and coming down this way somewhere, or something like that. But as I was in here and wiping and cleaning, and you can see I've got it all back to looking like fairly nice looking wood. It's just a little bit wet at this point. Of course, there is still some grunge and everything in the corners, but the wetness seems to be coming almost exclusively right from this edge. And as I was sitting here watching, and I can see all these little splashes of water dripping up, remember, this wood extends over the lip of where this tank is. And if you look all the way down here, you can almost make out that little crack of light shining right through there. So there is a gap. And I'm wondering if water splashing up in the tank is not simply splashing up onto the bottom side of that wood and then just weeping across the wood and dripping down here. And now that the water level in the tank is so much lower, I'm not getting as much splashing. Although I'm not 100% sure about this theory, because you'd think that the lower the water level gets, the more splashing there would be. But if you look, it just doesn't seem like it's getting as, as wet and splashy up as high as it was when the water level was up higher. So I don't know if that's what's going on or not, but I know that I cleaned off a bunch of really, really gross looking crud off of this back glass, and that is sort of indicative of stuff running down the glass. So was it leaking, and then running across the wood and then down the glass, or was it coming in right here and some of it was just leaking down the glass while the rest of it dripped onto the wood? Because years ago, when I had my other leaks, it would leak from up here and it would run down and over. All of this was just on the bottom side, so I don't know if I've fixed my leak or not. But there you go, and this is probably the best looking view you'll get of my German blue angelfish. It always hides in the back of the tank now that I moved it over here. This is also one of my older fish. I've had this German blue for, I don't know, probably 8 years now, 7 or 8 years. I've had it since way back. Got it around the same time I got my green giant angelfish, and my green giant is no longer with us. And as far as I could tell, when the green giant passed away, it was just due to sort of old age. It just got kind of worn out and eventually died. So I'm actually kind of surprised that that German blue is still alive in there. Again, it's getting pretty old for the average lifespan of an angelfish. So there you go, everybody. There's an update on my waterfall tank. And again, you can see the buckets aren't very full. The tray, this doesn't even have anything directing the water down into that tray anymore, and you can see even the larger tray isn't really that wet. It's actually drying out over the last few days. This still has some moisture on it, but not a lot. It's actually kind of slimy and gross, so it doesn't actually feel like it's wet. It just feels like it's still wet, not, you know, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's actively leaking. That just felt kind of slimy and gross, like it's just been wet and it's going to stay that way for a while. So there you go. There is an update on the waterfall tank. In fact, I will pull these couple of dying leaves off while you watch. And there, you got to see a little bit of maintenance on the waterfall tank while we were at it. So there you go, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss anything I got coming up. Don't forget I do a live stream every Friday and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That was just a look here at my waterfall tank. If you're subscribed, you won't miss any of the updates I do on anything else. So ring that bell, and I'll see you real soon.